Hey there, welcome back to Featherwood Farm. This is the third installment of the weekly garden journal series that I just kicked off recently. And this past week has been one of larger projects. Maybe large isn't quite the appropriate term. They've been physically taxing projects that I've been getting up to. One of which is clearing out this area in the back half of our property, which is filled with just kind of junky things, like a lot of invasive honeysuckle, a lot of buckthorn, a billion little seedling walnut trees that we just absolutely do not need on the property. But on the other side of the water here is a really beautiful little corner of the yard, and that's where all of the native redbuds grow. And I mean, there have to be at least 24 of them of various, sizes, some quite large, some, just starting off, only a few years old. But when they're all in bloom, it's absolutely gorgeous. However, that view is impeded by all of the junky things, thus me clearing that up on this side of the bank. And that water is just a seasonal creek or brook, whatever the appropriate term is. It really only ever has water in it kind of this time of year when, all of the winter snow melts and there've been a lot of spring rains, which is really unfortunate because it would be really beautiful to have that running through. This, has no flow to it. It's pretty much stagnant. And fortunately by summer it is gone, and if it lingers any, then it becomes a mosquito breeding ground, which is not great, but it looks pretty, and that's what counts, I guess. But my intentions are to kind of clear this out so that I can underplant these redbuds with some native shade tolerant things, like some goat's beard ferns, maybe some spring ephemerals, and just spruce it up a bit. Not have it be a maintained garden per se, but just let it all do its thing. And then another large project that I had to address was the fence that was removed, or rather was also toppled over in a storm last year. And this is in like our front entry to our house, or our main entry to our house. We had a large privacy fence here with the gate, and the left side of it was taken out in a storm, so the gate came down with that. The right panel of it remains standing, but I also got that taken out because I'm going to rebuild something here. And the idea was kind of solidified for me after, the fence on the other side of the house came down. I realized I might as well kind of address all of it all at once and get it taken care of. And I'm going to build something that is a bit cuter, a bit more in the cottage aesthetic, something to better match the house and the yard. And both sides of the fence are going to match now also. I'm going to build both of the new picket fences to match one another. So that'll be really nice. I haven't quite nailed down specifically what I want it to look like yet. I have a few ideas that are all kind of similar that I'm playing around with. I am waiting on a tool to arrive that should be here tomorrow before I can actually physically test my ideas on some pickets and see what I think. So that's why this has gone unfinished. And I did not start anything on the other side of the house because after pulling out these posts with the concrete still attached to them, it was just the most physically exhausting thing ever getting those out of the ground. And I am sure that there is a better way to do it. And I need to figure out what that is. I couldn't even think about pulling out the ones on the other side after doing these once. My body said no to that. But I was able to get the posts cemented in over here as you can see, and get that all kind of squared away, and also get the rails installed. And I also salvaged as many pickets as I could from the pre-existing fence that was here and got those all ripped, because I do know that they are all going to be the same width. So I got everything ripped to the same size. They're just not all cut to height or shaped or anything like that. And this way, once I do kind of nail down the specific design that I want, I will be able to just knock them all out and be good to go and get this thing built in no time. I think it's only 15 foot between the house and the garage where this is being built, so yeah, it really shouldn't take me that long. Nothing like the cottage garden one, nothing like that one. I did decide that once this fence was down, it was kind of the perfect opportunity to get in and kind of rework this bed and get some things planted and move some things around. I had ordered some bare roots, and those had just come in. I ordered 6 of each, maidenhair ferns, bloodroot, and wild ginger. And the bloodroot and the wild ginger are both new to me, and obviously the maidenhair fern, you can see I have a few of those in the garden and really like them. They're one of the few kind of evergreen things that, you know, I can grow, especially as far as perennials go. So it's nice having those around, and I wanted to add a few more in there. And then bloodroots are, I believe they'd be classified as a spring ephemeral. I do not believe that the foliage lasts into the summer, if I'm remembering correctly. And they have a really beautiful white, not very long lasting, I think it's only like a day or two, but white flowers that they get. So I thought that that would be kind of a fun sign of spring to have those blooming up here every year. And the wild ginger is another native, and they're a very shade tolerant ground cover. I had also ordered some perennial plugs again this year, and a handful of the varieties that I chose were also shade tolerant things. So up here I put in some Jack Frost Brunneras and some Tiarella. The Tiarellas are another native cultivar. I have them growing in another area in the front daydream garden here, and really like them. Tiarellas are actually what are hybridized with heucheras to make a heucherella. They have pretty kind of bottle brush flowers and are a spreading ground cover as well. So hopefully those do well up here. They are fortunately something that might get nibbled on here and there, but do not get, you know, consumed to nothing. And I have, you know, told myself also that this year I will be just yanking the things that, you know, get entirely consumed by deer or rabbits. Like, I just don't want to spend my time coddling a plant. So yeah, I will be making some editing changes like that. Like I did pull out the heucheras that I had up front here and just, you know, tossed them. They were pretty much eaten to little nubs of nothing. But I really did want to address this area because, you know, it's the path that you take to get to the main entry to our house. And so I would like for it to look nice. It's just quite unfortunate that it's as shady as it is, and I'm sort of limited in what I can put here, and that limits, you know, things that will be able to stick around through the winter. But I am considering maybe getting some shade tolerant varieties of boxwood and seeing how those might do up here, just for a bit of that evergreen interest. So we'll have to see. I did also move around some things as well. I pulled out all 4 of the little ditty viburnums that I had growing up here. They just never fully performed as well as they should have. And, you know, after 3-4 years of them being here, it was like, it's time to get them out and replace with something that will do better. So I put in this area some of the tiarellas that I had mentioned, as well as some ladies' mantle, because I know that those do well for me in kind of all areas that I have them planted. I also moved around some of the tough stuff hydrangeas I had planted up here and got those spaced a little bit better. Moved some sedges around, just little things like that, things to kind of make the layout and the balance a little bit more pleasing. And it's always a little bit tricky to plant up here in the shady parts of the garden, not because of the shade, but because I have hostas planted just throughout, and you know, you never see them until you start digging in the ground, and I can't ever remember exactly the precise location that I have them in, but fortunately I only stumbled upon one and moved that. It's times like these in the garden that I really cherish the most, where I can slowly and with thought and intention come in and make these small changes, moving things around because maybe it was 6 inches too far to the left, or too closely planted to something else, or removing things because it wasn't performing the way that I wanted to, and filling in gaps with things that I know will be successful. You know, I do believe that gardening is an art form, and you have this blank canvas before you, and the plants are your medium, and we don't have the immediate satisfaction of knowing exactly what this is going to look like when we put a plant in a certain place, because it's going to take a few years before it actually fully becomes itself. So we have this delay in our art where it takes so much more vision, so much more patience, before it really reveals itself to you. And yeah, it's so satisfying. It's so satisfying creating in this way. And I truly hope that everyone is able to spend some time in their own gardens, creating their own works of art, their own masterpieces that will reveal themselves very soon. So thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you in the next video. I'm just like 20-30 foot away. Hey! Stop it! Go away! Go! Yeah, no respect.